What if your rent problems quietly disappeared? What if one bold move from Washington finally offered the kind of relief millions of Americans have been waiting for? And what if this historic shift was already in motion, buried under news cycles, hidden in legislative drafts, and moving forward faster than anyone expected? That's not speculation. That's what's unfolding right now as the Senate reacts to a new proposal being dubbed the Big Beautiful Bill. To understand just how massive this could be, we have to go back to Section 8. Section 8 is the core of America's housing assistance system. For decades, it's been the federal government's main tool to help low-income individuals and families afford safe, decent housing. But there's a problem. The demand has always outstripped the supply. Waiting lists are miles long. Some cities have frozen applications for years, and people, especially seniors, single mothers, disabled individuals, are left waiting in silence. Now, for the first time in over a decade, that silence may finally be broken. The new housing bill being discussed in the Senate proposes a sweeping overhaul of how Section 8 operates. It's not just a budget increase, it's a full-scale structural shift, one that could add nearly 500,000 new vouchers. It could modernize how applications are handled. It may expand eligibility rules. And it might even place limits on how much landlords can charge tenants using these vouchers. But what does all that actually mean in the real world? Imagine waiting 9 years on a housing list. You call every few months. The answer is always the same. Still waiting. Then one day, the call changes. You're finally approved. Why? Because your city got new federal funding. Because the system was upgraded. Because the rules changed. That's the kind of real-life impact this bill could bring. They're calling it the Big and Beautiful Bill. Not just for branding, but because it targets real housing struggles. It includes protections for seniors spending over half their income on rent. It helps veterans in unstable housing. And it supports single parents living paycheck to paycheck. These aren't extras. They're essentials. The Senate is divided. Some see it as a long overdue investment in American families. They cite inflation, the housing crisis, and a growing senior population. Others are skeptical. They worry about cost, about landlords taking advantage, and whether more vouchers alone can fix a broken system. While Washington debates, millions of Americans are caught in the middle. If the bill stalls, many will continue struggling. If it passes without key protections, the help may not be enough. This isn't theoretical. Families are trying to keep a roof over their heads. Seniors are choosing between rent and medicine. Disabled individuals need stable housing to survive. Now here's the twist. The bill includes a powerful new option: voucher portability. That means you could take your Section 8 voucher to another city or state. For people stuck in high crime or low opportunity areas, that's huge. It could mean moving closer to family or better health care, without losing support. There's more. The bill also proposes funding for emergency housing aid. That includes help for those displaced by storms, fires, floods, or domestic violence. It would allow fast, temporary housing help when disaster hits. And that's a big step forward. Another key component is a modernization of the application system. The current system is notoriously outdated. In many cities, applications are still handled manually or through paper forms. This bill proposes a digital, centralized system that could allow people to check their application status in real time, update their information online, and receive notifications directly to their phone or email. For seniors, especially those with mobility issues, this is more than convenience. It's accessibility. Now let's talk about timing. This isn't a vague, years-away idea. The bill is already moving through committee, and early drafts are gaining traction. If it stays on track, a Senate floor vote could happen as early as July. That means real decisions could be made within weeks. And if it passes, local housing authorities could receive new funding by fall, possibly triggering new voucher availability before the end of the year. Of course, there's no guarantee. The legislative process is slow, often frustrating, and vulnerable to political games. Opponents of the bill are already warning that this could balloon federal spending. Some want the voucher funding redirected toward building affordable housing directly, not just increasing demand through vouchers. Others are asking why landlords should be allowed to continue profiting off federal programs without tighter rent controls. But for people waiting on housing assistance, the debate doesn't matter as much as the outcome. The difference between this bill passing or failing could be the difference between staying housed or becoming homeless. That's not exaggeration. That's what housing advocates across the country are warning. If you or someone you love is currently on a Section 8 waiting list, now is the time to pay close attention. Check with your local housing authority. Make sure your contact information is up to date. Ask whether they're preparing for new funding. Because if this bill passes, you don't want to miss your chance because of outdated paperwork. And here's something most people don't realize. Even if you were previously denied or removed from a waiting list, this bill may allow for a second chance. Some proposals within the legislation suggest reopening applications in areas that have been closed for years, particularly for seniors and people with disabilities. So ask yourself this: are you ready if the system suddenly opens up? Would you know what to do, who to call, where to apply? Because this may not happen again for another decade. And missing it could mean missing your only opportunity for affordable housing help. There's also a deeper question at play here. Why has housing become such a crisis in America, especially in one of the richest countries in the world? Why do millions have to wait years for help, while others live comfortably without worry? And why are housing costs allowed to rise endlessly, while fixed-income seniors are told to just make it work? This bill won't fix all of that, but it might be the first real step toward acknowledging the problem, toward saying, yes, housing is a right. Yes, we need federal support. And yes, we're willing to act, not just talk. The coming weeks will reveal whether Congress has the will to act, whether they can put people before politics, whether they can move beyond gridlock and deliver something that actually changes lives. So while the headlines might seem quiet, behind the scenes, something big is moving. And if you're not watching closely, you might miss the moment it reaches your doorstep. Disclaimer: this video is for informational purposes only and does not guarantee eligibility, timing, or approval for any housing benefits. Legislative outcomes and program changes are subject to congressional review and may vary by state.